Hello, it's me, Pavlo, winner of Best Audio Reviewer Voice 1998 award, and today we will talk about FiiO FW3. Interesting true wireless model. I already reviewed FW5 and it's an interesting true wireless model with hybrid schema with nice built-in system on chip, AK4331 if I remember index right. So they created really interesting model for those who need the maximum focus on the sound quality. Dynamics, balanced armatures, good digital tonal converter and amplifier, on top of that Qualcomm chip to process the sound, so FW5 sounds great. But now FiiO decided that they need to release more affordable model. FW5 costs $150 and FW3 is only about $100. So I will add links of course to the description. And what is interesting here, of course they simplified the internal audio schema, because here they don't have balanced armatures, just single dynamic driver model, but it was tuned so well that actually, I'd say that they are about on the same level in terms of sound quality, just offering two different signatures. So far it offers same schema with Qualcomm chip and 4331 AK chip to perform digital tonal conversion and amplification, 10mm dynamic driver with carbon-based diaphragm, and it supports SBC, AAC and aptX codecs and also LHDC. LDAC is not here yet, but actually recently FiiO added LDAC to FW5, so it's really likely that they will add this codec here too. Actually FW5 received two big firmware updates and they've got a lot of useful features, so hopefully for the FW3 they will do the same. But enough talks, let's actually have a closer look. So package is done, is made in new style. Need to open it here, and actually they put the size and weight here, but of course it's not the weight of earpieces, it's weight with case. So I'd like to open it accurately. And inside there is a cardboard tray, so a bit simpler packaging compared to FW5, but still nicely done. So opens this way. Here you will get manual, also USB cable for charging, 5 pair of tips, and the case with earpieces themselves. So FW5 were like more black, dark gray. FW3 you can get either in this silver color or in more white tint, and here they are inside. So accessory set and packaging are done really well here. So here how case looks for the FW3, and it's made entirely of plastic. There is a charging port on the rear side and 4 LEDs indicating charge status of battery inside of this case. And from one charge the earpieces lives about 7 hours. Of course on codecs like LDAC it will be less. On aptX you'll get around 7 hours, also it depends on the volume, but lifetime is pretty good. And the case offers 2 additional charges. And inside here are earpieces themselves, also made of plastic, but actually that makes them pretty lightweight and really comfortable in usage. So they have interesting shape to symbolize, or actually to accent their relation to the FiiO FD series. We've seen that for the FD5, for the FD7, so interesting design with these stripes on the faceplate, and you can see there is also a blinking indicator. It blinks now because they are in the pairing mode. So let's remove the tip, and here is spout. It has average length, so they have nice passive sound isolation, slightly above average, thanks to the shape of the earpiece, which isolates channel pretty well. There is a leaf for holding the tips, of course, and protective grill, so all that things are on their places. What is a bit unusual here, and some people like that actually, and for me it doesn't, I can't say that it's a plus or minus, but FiiO decided to use here two mechanical switches on each earpiece. So it gives you pretty well developed control system, like single clicks on these buttons changes volume, and on this it's play pause, and of course double triple clicks, so all functions have their nice way of activation. Microphones located here. We'll do the test to find out how well they sound. In general, they hold connection pretty well, up to 10 meters without problems, especially if you use codecs like aptX. And also they have a special game mode. You activate it and you're getting much lower delays of the sound. It will be useful for games or for video, but at the same time it's also battery consuming, so it's not like mode to be enabled by default. But in general, in terms of ergonomics, design and other stuff, I like these earpieces. Here is a companion app. As usual, it's FiiO Control. It was updated a few days ago to and gain support of FW3. Layout is pretty familiar. Photo of the earphones, name of the model, battery status, selected codec and firmware version. Also here are additional settings. You can do some basic customization here. You can update firmware, but so far there is no over-the-air firmware updates available. You can turn off indicator light if you need. You can activate battery protection mode. It's actually pretty useful. In this mode they charge only up to 80%. You'll get less lifetime from single charge, but at the same time battery will serve noticeably longer with this mode activated. And game mode, lower delay, more power consumption. You can select idle power off timeout and select what Bluetooth codecs you'd like to use. Here is equalizer, and here actually FiiO used pretty sophisticated equalizer. You can use it as a linear equalizer, or you can activate parametric equalizer mode, where you select frequency band and then you can adjust it, changing different parameters of the selected frequency band. So you can make pretty sophisticated equalizer settings here, but I will reset it and disable so far. In the audio settings you can select channel balance, you can select low pass filter for the digital to converter used here. I actually don't know, are there any models of true wireless earphones with selectable low pass filter? Also headphones volume of tones, I prefer keep it a bit quieter, and volume of call. And also you can select English or Chinese voice. And also here in the guide you can see the quick start guide for this model to understand different indicators and buttons better. So nice companion app that will allows doing a lot of useful things and customizations. Here is our traditional microphone test. As usual, I'm recording this part of the video with earpieces in my ears and properly oriented microphones. I won't apply here any gain correction or equalization, so this part will give you an idea on how their microphones sound in quiet environment. Sound here is really good for the true wireless model. I won't add this sentence as for true wireless model in all review, but keep in mind that still we're not comparing like true wireless models to wired ones. But actually difference is not that huge nowadays, and these earphones sound really decent, and I think some people can prefer FW3 over FW5 because it's more a matter of subjective tastes. But more about the comparison later. So far let's focus on FW3. And you know the secret of the sound, like take good dynamic drivers, add decent digital to analog converter, and add a good Bluetooth chip that will do the transmission. Of course, still Bluetooth lossy codecs taking their toll in the sound, but in general, nice balance of signature and the performance of audio components here allows them to like hide that issues with Bluetooth codecs a little bit. It will be really interesting to test when LDAC will be available, but so far I tested it with LHDC codec using this M11 as a transport. It worked okay in this scenario. But on the street actually I switched to the aptX and use it with more compact Hibi players, Hibi R2 Mark II, but more about that player a bit later. So, really nice, good bass. It's slightly accented, but not too much, so it's definitely not a bass head model, and not a model for those who need like rumbling, powerful sub bass. Lower layers of bass are present here, but they're not dominating in the whole mix. They build the foundation, but not dominating, not trying to shake your skull or not trying to deliver you that constant sensation. When some deep and punchy bass is present somewhere in the record, they deliver a nice punch, but it's not overwhelming, so if you like really hard kicks, it's better to look to some more bass head model, but for me it's like a perfect balance between the technical part and like fun part. I like the resolution here of the low frequencies, really nice amount of details, but not too much, so bass doesn't sound too dry or analytical, and at the same time it doesn't sound bloated. And another great feature of this model in particular is that it used just one driver, so it means that bass transition to the mid frequency is absolutely natural, and they have really great coherence, and bass is controlled and stay in place, giving you pretty nice clean mids without traces of bass bleeding. And also that's thanks to the not overboosted bass. Of course you can change sound pretty much with equalizer, and they are equalizing pretty well, but still don't expect to make them super bass head model, but they were not created for that. But I really like amount of naturalness I am getting with some instruments like I don't know, brass, lower notes of fortepiano or something like that. They have a good amount of details to make them sound pretty realistic. And example here is something in between. It's Metallica's Enter Sandman. So drums, but acoustical bass of course, but rhythm section sounds really engaging here, delivering you that nice amount of body and presence. And actually, thanks to the balanced mids and treble, you're getting nice cymbals and enjoyable guitars and vocals, so this track really fitting the representation of these earphones. And we transition to the mid frequencies, and it's basically, you know, like well-tuned dynamic driver, not going too far in the micro contrast, but having a normal amount of details, instead giving you a good sense of dynamic and emotions. Like it looks like it's a bit of signature feature for FiiO. They are good in delivering dynamics, and these earphones are not exception. They're not trying to hide some issues, but at the same time they're not highlighting them, and because of that sounds pretty okay, even with some pretty poorly recorded stuff. Imaginary stage is above average in width and in depth. It's not huge, but has a nice size. Of course, in wired version they sound much more spacious, but here we're getting that reduction because of the wireless Bluetooth codecs. Nice, engaging mids, good for both male and female vocals, because for male vocals we're getting a normal amount of weight, for the female we're getting a bit of boost in the upper mids area to make it even more energetic. And example for the mid frequencies, it's A Day in the Life by the Beatles. I really like this compilation, I like the track list for this album, and I like the remaster made for these tracks. They sound really airy, really positive, even A Day in the Life, which is not really positive in terms of lyrics, but still sound like a message from that past era in the music. And all instruments, and this track is saturated with interesting ideas in terms of instruments and music. They are represented nicely by this model as well as vocal, definitely letting you to dive into this composition. And the treble, it's not super extended, extension is just about average, so for some tracks of course I'm missing them, but at the same time overall quality is really nice. It's not as sharp and energetic as FW5. They are not FW5 not sharp, but they are more sharper and more forward thanks to the balanced armature. They having more speed in the treble area. Here you'll get a bit slower attacks and decays, typical for the dynamic drivers, but at the same time really good basic overtone saturation and nice amount of air they deliver here. And if you're not a fan of splashy and energetic treble, it can be a good option. Of course they are not treble shy model or model with softened treble, no, but at the same time their sound is nicely balanced, good for long listening sessions in the terms of treble. And here is the example, it's Cold Wind to Valhalla by Jethro Tull. Really great track with a lot of instruments and flute and bells and percussions and many other things, and pretty saturated vocals that goes in the treble area too with overtones. So they require of course much more technical earphones in general. I mean wired ones, but FW3 delivers this track, you know, in an enjoyable way. Of course you'll miss that layering, but at the same time track sounds enjoyable and without any big issues. So I really like the signature here, and basically it's a matter of the preferences, choosing between this one and FW5. FW5 have a bit more premium build, and also they have more focus on the micro contrast and a bit more energetic because of balanced armatures in the upper mids and treble area. And also they building a more spacious stage, not by a big margin, but slightly noticeable. And FW3 sounds, you know, like more organic and overall more musical. So if you want to go listening to details as much as it's possible for the true wireless segment, of course, then save some money and get FW5. But if you're looking just for relaxed and listening, enjoyable with nice amount of details, FW3 will be a really good choice here. And I don't remember any other models in the similar price tier to compare, but things is simple. So of course they don't have modern features like transparency or active noise cancelling, I don't know, pulse oximeter, accelerometer or something like that, but they give you maximum amount of sound possible for this price, and I think it's a good deal. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.